Welcome back, one and all, to Trails of
Heimdall
Cold Steel
Cathedral.
3.
It feels oddly quiet around here.
Let's go inside after we've finished any other business we have.
The door is locked. The embassy is completely closed. Well, they basically declared war with them after all. Hotel Valor. Alright. Okay, Elise. I'm sorry for asking you to do this. I'll do anything for Reen's sister. Sheesh. Grandfather! Reen, you're here. Welcome, this is quite a spectacle. Reen, everyone, thank goodness you're okay. I just heard about your situation. I was surprised to hear that Gwen and the chairman were contacting me, but I never thought it would be Elise along with Reen and the others. Princess, I'm glad I get to see your face. His Majesty, how is he? There haven't been any updates, but this morning the medical college brought in a famous doctor. The doctor who treated Sharon. The medical equipment is currently being delivered. They just came this morning on a high-speed Rhineford plane. He should be fine. Everything will be okay, Princess. And considering Ash is one of my classmates, that isn't an easy thing for me to say. So Alphin's heading back to the school. Let's get to the cathedral. Again, my capture card does not care about the blocked scene. No one's here? How could the cathedral be completely empty?
So, you've arrived at last.
Rosine? I was somewhat expecting you to show up here, but your main objective is different.
Yes, it's good to see you all again. Please, come in. They're waiting for you just over there.
Lloyd?
Ah,
Thomas.
I'm glad you all finally made it. The church has decided this issue now merits the attention of the Congregation for the Sacraments. As such, the Archbishop and all the staff here have been moved to another location.
I get it now. You're the former instructor, Thomas?
Thank you for all your diligence, Rosine. I'd feel much better if you were to stand watch over the front door now, just in case.
Yes, understood. Leave it to me.
In the second game when we met up with him, he was, well, this imposing. So it appears that whole eccentric goofball persona he has is an act, a front.
Let me introduce you. This man is a member of the Gralsritter, a division of the Septian Church. He's the second in command, in fact. Thomas Lysander.
So there was more to him than just
He
being a
holds the seat of
goofball
Second
teacher.
Dominion and is sometimes known by his title, the Partitioner.
Gralsritter. They're the armed knight organization by the church. I've heard that Comrade S was one of their ranks. Wait a minute. Gaius, does this mean, are you?
Now allow me to introduce you. This man is one of the Gralsritter's 12 Dominion. The successor to the 8th Dominion. Gaius Warzel.
Well, that explains a lot. So that's why we couldn't get a hold of you.
Yeah, a lot happened all at once.
Joined the Knights of the Church.
After graduating from Thors, I returned to Nord and began observing the struggle between Erebonia and Calvert. However, I began to feel something dark and sinister carried on the winds of the plateaus. I consulted my father
Dominion.
and the chief, and eventually my old teacher, Father Barkhorn, came to visit. You might remember the name. He was the traveling priest we chased after during the Civil War. But it turns out, he was also the 8th Dominion of the Gralsritter, with the title the Roaring Lion. He was an extremely skilled knight, who investigated the Salt Pale in Northumbria and trained Brigadier General Bardius. Apparently, he was worried, and came to Nord to check up on me.
So that's how you joined the Gralsritter.
He explained to me that what I had been sensing was called the Gale of Ruin. I'm not sure why I'm able to sense it. Maybe it's because I'm a descendant of those who fought alongside the Lionheart Emperor. I mentioned this to him and he came to a realization. But then it happened. A Calvardian ship that broke past the 7th Armored Division attacked my village.
So you have a vendetta against Calvert.
My father was away at the time. I fought back in an attempt to protect my family, but it was no use. Right as I prepared myself for death, my teacher threw his huge body in the way to protect me. And as he lay there dying, he passed his stigma onto me. Across the nearly 1,000-year history of the Gralsritter, its highest-ranking members have each borne one of 12 sacred markings. This was one of those markings.
The Roaring Lion. He saved many people who were affected by the disaster in Northumbria. Yes, among the current Dominion members, He was the most veteran. And after the stigma was passed to Gaius, I took him to the Holy City, where he received knight's training, hence his half-year of silence. If that's what's happening, you should have told us. We would have helped you. Everything happened so quickly. I did everything I had to do and finished my training. Last month, Eustace was finally able to reach me. The power that I've received from my master, with it I will save the Empire, my second home, as a member of Class 7. Thank you. Lend us your strength. Seeing someone like him puts us under even more pressure. What's that aura? Oh, I think that's just a candle. Yeah, it's a candle.
Grandmother! Stop hiding! Come out already! You're the one who called us here in the first place, aren't you?
I only hid myself so as not to interrupt your discussion.
Rose.
Indeed. But you may simply call me Rose. I had you all gather here for one reason. To explain to you the background between the Hex and Clan and the Church.
So the two are connected. But aren't the witches opposed to the church?
It's not as though we don't believe in Adios. There have been some differences in opinion over the years, but we and the church have worked together on a number of occasions.
For example, during the War of the Lions, or the vampire incident in the Middle Ages. Not to mention the fight against the Dark Dragon 800 years ago.
And just last week.
But all that was just Rose sticking her nose into other people's business.
How are you involved in all that?
Legend has it,
Magic!
Emperor Dreikel's camp was once visited by a good witch. And the novel Red Moon Rose features a vampire hunter affiliated with the church who was, in truth, the true ancestor of the vampires. The woman you now see before you was both of these people, even if she looks a bit different.
So Rose is a vampire. How old are you exactly?
800 or so. However, you should know that my situation is somewhat unique. All other witches are normal humans. Except, of course, for the fact that they are all descendants of those who once guarded the Septarian of Fire.
That's the same of Liberl and the Great Tree of Crossbell. The Septarians, the 7 gifts bestowed on humanity. It said that they were all lost during the Great Collapse. There are things like Ouroboros has been trying to get their hands on. Perhaps we should be taking turns. Very well. I'm sure you've noticed by now. There is a front and a back to this empire. The spirit veins are directly affected by the turbulence of government and war. And that causes cryptids and other powerful monsters from planes to stir. The Pleroma grass and magic knights. So where did they come from in the first place? Well, to begin, Pleroma grass is mana grass from the higher planes. It once served as the eyes and ears of the Septarian of Mirage. Normally it's blue, but after the incidents in Crossbell, it vanished. And that is, until Crossbell became part of the Empire, at which point it began reappearing in its new scarlet shade. It changed color to match the infernal castle, perhaps. There is undoubtedly a connection. As for the Magic Knights, you may have heard before, but they are golems from the Dark Ages. They were created by mages of the Empire to fight against the Divine Knights. During the war, something caused them to stir once more, and now they appear in Crossbell via the Spirit Path. It would also explain the increased incidents with cryptids. And what about the Society? Their phantasmal blaze. They sought to use Crossbell's fake phantasma to awaken the blaze in Erebonia. That's what I've heard anyway. Where did you hear that? Last night, from the Chancellor himself. He told me some other intriguing things too, but I feel like he intentionally left out some of the more important details. It seems Ouroboros' work in Crossbell 2 years ago was to bring out some kind of change in Erebonia. Just so you know, Crossbell's Mirage Septarion wasn't artificially created. Fake. It was stronger than the original, but the Society had no interest in it. Were I to hazard a guess, their goal is to acquire the two treasures that originally existed here. The Septarion of Fire and Earth. So Libero had the Septarion of Space, Crossbell had Mirage, but Erebonia has two? Hold on a second. Emma, if the witches are descendants of the people who guarded the Septarion of Fire, the Black Workshop and the Gnomes are the same people. The descendants of those who guarded the Earth. They are counterparts. Much like the royal family of Libero, the Croix family in Crossbell. In addition, you may be aware that each Septarion was its own holy beast assigned to watch over it. Libero had an ancient dragon, Crossbell had a divine wolf. And as it had two Septarions, Erebonia had two holy beasts. However, the Great Collapse, each of them vanished alongside the Septarion. So what happened? Allow me to reveal it to you, the truth behind the land of Rebos. The story that relies on modicum and speculation.
In the beginning, this land housed two of the Septarion. The Arc Rouge, Septarion of Fire and wielder of fierce power. The Lost Zem, Septarion of Earth and bearer of unyielding endurance. Each assumed the form of a colossal guardian and went about granting boons and performing miracles for its people. For a few centuries, the land of Erebonia prospered, but eventually, its people began to vie for power and control. The Septarians had always granted their people's wishes, but now, their peoples each wished for the other's destruction. And so, the two colossi began fighting. Their battle ravaged the earth and split the sky, devastating the entire region. The humans tried to stop them, but it was in vain. The Septarians' fight continued 1,000 days, scorching the land black. When the battle ended at long last, it was a tie. Exhausting their power in one final strike, the two Septarion were blown away, left as nothing but empty shells.
The
Yet
statues.
the tale did not end there.
In
The
Nord
power
and
expelled by
Crossbell.
each Septarion collided.
No, not
and
Crossbell.
became
Ordis.
one, resulting in the creation of an entirely new entity. The Great One, the Septarion of Steel. It was an existence created from the union of fire and earth. It was beyond anything else in this realm. It was the ultimate source of power. Though things seem fine at first, the survivors of the war soon realized the eternal conflict within it. They knew this conflict would cause it to grow ever more unstable, and that it was not something that could be handled by mankind.
With the Holy Beast's assistance, the kins of fire and earth joined together to see the Great One sealed away. However, each of their attempts ended in failure. Left with no other options, they resorted to their final plan. The Great One would remain whole in the higher plane, yet its physical incarnation in this world split into numerous shards. It was this final gambit that saw disaster averted.
Indeed. Their combined efforts bore fruit. The kin of Earth created 7 vessels, while the kin of Fire split the Great One's power and infused each vessel with a part of it.
7 dolls in the form of knights, each bearing the Great One's power, the Divine Knights.
Wow. This is beyond fathomable. The kin of fire became the Hex and Clan, the kin of earth became the gnomes. They split the unstable ultimate power into 7, then both sides decided to watch over the reconstruction after the collapse. Oh, and by the way, many people from each kinship have since abandoned their roles. They joined together, started accepting people from the surrounding area, and created the foundation of what became Erebonia. Ah.
900 years ago, Heimdall was a small city of only about 50,000 people. However, it was one of the burgeoning centers of culture for the region. The Septian Church had finished construction on the Heimdall Cathedral, and there were plans to develop the city even further. But it was then the Dark Dragon appeared, blanketing Heimdall in miasma and transforming it into a city of the dead. Emperor Astorius chose to lead his people south and made St. Arc the new capital of Erebonia.
In helping Emperor Astorius deal with this crisis, the Hex and Clan and gnomes each suffered substantial losses. The Hex and Clan lost its elder, and the gnomes their holy beast. And so ended their alliance. The final time they spoke would be a century later. It was when Emperor Hector awakened the Vermilion Knight to reclaim Heimdall from the Dark Dragon. He did so at the urging of the chief of the gnomes and the new elder of the Hex and Clan, myself. However, the Emperor fell to the Dark Dragon's miasma, and the Vermilion Knight to its curse. The Emperor's son had the chief of the gnomes and myself seal the cursed knight deep below the Imperial Palace. That would be the last act our 2 clans performed together. I do not know why, but the gnomes cut off contact with our clan and hid themselves away. In the 800 years that followed, whenever war struck Erebonia, a divine knight would enter the stage, demonstrate its might, then vanish. I was certain the gnomes were involved, yet all we could do was guide awakeners on the proper course. This unending pattern reached its most fevered peak 250 years ago during the War of the Lions. The false Emperor Orthros unearthed the cursed Vermilion Knight, and a mercenary under Prince Lucius' employ awakened the Palatinate Knight. Prince Dreichels found the Ashen Knight, and Leanne the Argent Knight. The 4 awakened at once, made for a grand war indeed.
That leads 2 missing knights. Or 3. Platinate, silver. Let's see, there's platinate, silver, azure, ashen, vermilion. Yeah, there's 2 knights missing. So what are the other 2 knights? She guided Leanne to the silver, the agent. Along with your ancestor, Arsaid, second in command of the Eisenritter. She left the gram to Arsaid. I occasionally met with her whenever she came around, but the last time was 20 years ago. That's when she met Ouroboros' Grandmaster, who brought her into the fold. So Boss and Crow were both... As I said, we have no idea what's happened. I think the key is the Divine Knight. The Jaeger King was not an Awakener when he was alive. On the other hand, Dreikel's was an Awakener. But he did not become immortal, as he remained dead. And Sir Terene isn't immortal, is he? Right, he's still been growing since graduation. Yeah, but it may have some weird powers. But I've definitely aged. The current is the current Chancellor Gileath Osborne, and the Chief of the Gnomes, Albrike. The reason Barkhorn and I were in Erebonian was because we discovered an anomaly. The spirit veins were being distorted all over the continent. It was like a ripple effect. The incidents in Liberola and Crossbell, as well as the Civil War, only served to further the increase in distortions. They continued to get larger after Crossbell and Northumbria both folded to the Empire. And larger again when the cryptids and knights began appearing in Crossbell. The Great Twilight really is about to happen. Then all of this seems to be an omen of things to come. Who is Albrike? He uses the masked man as his agent, and he hired the Jaeger King, who is supposed to be dead. Are there other gnomes out there? Well, your dear rabbit friends may technically count, but besides the masked man, the leader seems to have at least one other acting agent. I cannot say who this person may be, but it would seem that they are talented craftsmen. Oh, and before you jump to conclusions, I am not speaking of that little brat, Schmidt. It would seem the person I speak of possesses a different kind of genius. Talented craftsman. That's putting some unpleasant ideas in my head. In any event, Albrike and the Chancellor are connected. and it's likely to be through the Intelligence Division or his children. With the incident of last night, things may have been put in motion. Last night, we finally decoded the Black Records that we found the other day. The Black Records are a collection of particular type of artifacts, something found in Erebonia. I was actually about to exchange information with them about Reen. To Reen. Oh my god, I can't talk. Father Thomas. Sheesh, you probably took advantage of Reen's sense of responsibility. I can't deny it. In any event, this is what the updated record said.
When the sacrifice is made and the ancient blood flows, the path to the Graal of Erebos shall open. When the tainted holy beast is pierced by the blade of World's End, and its blood fills the Graal, the great twilight shall fall upon the land.
What? That's... timing is too perfect. It's as if the prophecies were written about our current situation. If the ancient blood is referring to the Emperor, then is the sacrifice referring to Ash? What about the Graal or the Blade? The Graal is related to the Church, and the tainted holy beast. The Vermilion Knight. There is a sacred place beneath the cathedral, the Primal Ground, a facility that was designed to play a major role after the collapse. 900 years ago, when Heimdall was shrouded in darkness, it retreated beneath here and disappeared. It's only speculation, but I believe the dark dragon you faced the other day was merely a servant of the Holy Beast. Wait a minute. Are you saying that the dark dragon wasn't the cause? Though it was indeed a powerful cryptid, it was not something the witches and gnomes could take out together. If the Holy Beast gave birth to the dragon, and it is still alive somewhere, where else could it be but the Primal Ground? This has got to be a joke. Regarding to this Blade of World's End that defeats the Holy Beast, in other scriptures, it's the Originator Zero. I'm speculating that it's a special weapon created by the workshop. What in the hell? At the very least, it probably isn't anything like the boss uses. Do you think it's made by Zumirium ore like the weapons used by the Knights? It'd be likely.
Muse?
Is something the matter?
Oh?
You realize something?
Right now, we need any straw we can grasp at.
Anything at all could help, no matter how small.
Yes, you're right. That term. Originator Zero. Could that be OZ, perhaps?
That's what the Black Workshop called Millium and Altina.
They're model numbers. OZ.
Oh, what are you talking about? So you finally made it.
God
That voice.
damn it, Vita.
Vita! Ah, so the prodigal granddaughter returns.
Prodigal child would fit better, but, you know, it just rolls off the tongue a little better.
Misty, Vita!
I heard you had been acting on your own. Nice to see you again, grandmother. Emma, Celine, and Class 7, too. And thank you for mediating, Mr. Lysander.
Oh, don't even mention it. It always breaks my heart to see a family torn apart so.
Vita! Why? You really don't plan on ever coming back, do you?
That's correct. As I said before, my allegiance will forever lie with the Grandmaster. I can't return to you and Grandmother. I can never go back to the way I used to be. Just like the Steel Maiden.
Are you an immortal?
Seriously, who even is this Grandmaster person?
I have no clue. But it is clear she is quite taken with them. So do tell, Vita. If you have not decided to return to us, why show yourself now? Has Ouroboros finally decided upon its course of action?
Yes. After our experiments with the 3 ions, the 6 other Anguis came to a unanimous decision. They decided to ignore my warning. They will work with the Chancellor and the Gnomes to bring about the Great Twilight, completing the Phantasmal Blaze plan.
Good Lord.
So that's how
Why?
the reason Ouroboros was so quiet the past month wasn't because they left Erebonia.
It was to carry out their plan and determine whether they should work alongside enemies and traitors.
How can that be? If that were the case, it means...
They're all our enemies?
Is this?
It's not the cathedral's bell.
Huh? I think I recognize it from Crossbell.
You do?
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I remember hearing it right before the incidents in Crossbell, when we were still independent. Oh! The one from the museum!
The bell from Stargazer's tower?
But the sound's coming from a different direction than the museum.
The Phantasmal Blaze plan. What a fitting name. I wonder how much of this she foresaw.
That is quite enough mumbling to yourself. If you know what is going on, show us!
It'll be a bit tough without Grianos. I'll need your help, Grandmother. Emma, Celine, you too.
Yes! I'm not your slave.
Neither was Grianos. The villa. God damn it, it's Ouroboros. The fool and the stall ritter. What the? Is that a knight? Zephyr and the Constellation. Or is that just a archaism? There's Milliam, Siegfried, Altina. What are they doing to her? They're all here. George. Siegfried. I'm guessing the man with the ponytail is Albrecht.
Now then, let's say we celebrate the continuation of the Phantasmal Blaze plan by ringing in the Great Twilight. I, Enforcer number 0, the Fool, shall play the opening note.
beast. That's supposed to be a holy beast? They did mention that it was corrupted. What have they done? Sharon, what are you doing there?
Check that out!
Sure is something.
Well, how about that?
So, the beginning of the end, is it?
Deja vu. The Graal of Erebos. Just as the Black Records foretold.
The crypt where the great power will be reborn.
Reen. Uses.
Couldn't have guessed this is how my day would turn out when I woke up this morning.
Let us begin. It is time. Chief of the Gnomes and head of the workshop, show me the way, Black Alberic.
Yeah, Alberic's got the ponytail. Alberic of the Black Demise.
My lord.
What are they doing to Altina? They're forming a defensive wall. Meaning they're going to keep people out of whatever they're doing there. Jesus Christ.
Rufus. Millium.
Was that... Allie?
Yes. But why?
Boss, Zeno, and Leo.
Azure Siegfried.
And that guy in the lab coat. Isn't that...
The blazing demon and the fool were there as well.
So that's the maiden.
Why?
Sharon.
We just spoke this morning and... What's going on?
Lisa.
That man's
Wait.
name was Lumen or something like that, right? His hair looked different.
Franz Lumen, the first disciple of G. Schmidt and the deceased husband of the Reinford Group's chairman.
What the fuck? Elisa's father?
Also known as Franz Reinford.
Ah, so he has been lurking in the shadows these past 20 years.
Yes. Perhaps for the sake of working with the Chancellor to engineer this very moment.
Elisa.
Snap out of it! Now's not the time! As a bracer, I can't just sit here and let them pull off whatever that Twilight crap is they're planning. How about all of you?
She's right. We can't stop here.
We gathered together to do whatever we could to help. Our goal remains unchanged.
Yep, true.
Elisa, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, Vita, what will you do now?
Well, I'd like to charge in there alongside the rest of you, mostly out of spite. Unfortunately, I suspect things won't be quite that easy.
What do you...
Something's...
There's a turbulent swirl in the mana.
Was that?
I believe so. Sir Lysander, Sir Gaius, cryptids and magic knights have appeared all over the city.
Motherfucker. Well, I'm gonna end this one here. Thank you all for watching. I'm the TheDarkSeraph signing off. I'm in shock.